The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast, the podcast dedicated to discussing, reviewing, and arguing, on occasions, about an exploding star in the sky. Joining me, who has not eaten a star and started, sucking the life out of all of those who are dead, is
Liam. Hello. Well,
hello.
I mean that's debatable. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some people that would say that, but oh well, their loss, I guess.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got a fully loaded podcast today. We've got everybody's favorite discussion of ratings. We have Big Finish news, a stealth drop, which I'm glad that you noticed it too.
Like all day, I was like refreshing the Big Finish website, going, news? Nope. News? Nope. News? Okay, no news.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one that did that, because it was, where is this? And because I just happened to be perusing the what's new.
Exactly. I was doing the exact same thing, and I was like, February. I was like, hang on, time. I was like, Sean Carlson. Hang on, where? And I was like, okay, where's the news item? Have I missed this? Like, how have I missed this? And nope.
No.
And they were like, and I messaged them going, oh, have you seen this the sort of secret release on Big Finish? And they're like, oh, it's not a secret because it's in the what's new section. Well, they've not said anything about it, so it kind of is, because I had no bloody idea. If I'd not gone to the what's new section and just happened to scroll through to February just on the off chance, I would have had no idea that they'd have even dropped it. And someone was like, oh, it was a Vortex exclusive. Oh, okay. So we're doing that now, are we? Like, all right. I mean, I don't read Vortex, so...
Well, and the funny thing is I used to collect all the Vortexes, but I would never really read it because it was, you know what? It's Big Finish. It's their company. But I just felt as though it was just them tooting their own horn. And I'm like, give me, I'm one of the things I want to do is, especially since they have the 12 days of Big Finishmas, and they have allowed, some of these vortexes that have been unavailable for years to be now republished or pulled down during this time. It'd be interesting to kind of go through and see maybe the evolution of the Vortex magazine, just to see, has it always...
Are you meaning the Vortex itself, or because there was a couple of Big Finish magazines that were audio that had like interviews and things in that were, I think, now available. I didn't see anything about Vortex.
Oh, I thought it was just a Vortex magazine. So
no.
Okay.
It was the Big Finish magazines.
Gotcha.
So like you had you have the early interviews with Paul McGann in and stuff, and they've got them talking about like the Tomorrow People, which I'm still waiting for that drop to happen. By the way, they're like, oh yeah, it's coming, and it was on the back end website, and it's a no show. I'm like, we're in the next year. This was like dropped back in like May. I'm like, where is it? Come on, guys.
Well, it's going to be quite interesting about that. I will tell you. You know how they did the what is it? I just barely got it in the mail. The Sirens of Time's Redux, and how they've updated. And
what edition did you get?
I think it was the bronze. I got the CDs. There's no way I easily lost out on the records. Like I did not get there soon enough to get, like, I think they had 150 vinyl. And that was gone.
No. It wasn't vinyl. It was never vinyl.
Oh,
it was
cassettes, wasn't it?
Cassette. Yeah, I was one of the ones that managed to grab that.
Ooh,
grab the platinum.
Yeah, so. I did not. Whatever one mine is, it's either the bronze or it was the silver or whatever, which is the CDs. And I'm so grateful. The only thing that I'm bummed about is I never picked up the CD of the original version, but whatever. I own it. It's fine. Yeah. But the interesting thing would be is if they were to upgrade the Tomorrow People, because one of our gifts that we did a couple of years ago was you gifted me to listen to the first audio of the Tomorrow series, People. Yeah. And I just found the editing super choppy. It was done in an order which I don't believe people spoke like. I think it was just over post-produced, in my opinion.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I really like the series. I really want it. I really want it to be again readily available to the public because like it was a really good series, and it kickstarted a whole bunch of I guess people's careers. I mean, you had you had Maggie Stables appear in it as a villain.
Well, she was a villain in Sirens of Time too.
What, Evelyn?
Yeah. Well, no, not Evelyn, but Maggie Stables. She was a villain in Sirens of Time.
Oh, was she? I don't
remember in the third story, she is this queen. I can't remember. I need to re-listen. I have not listened to the Redux version yet. I'm excited to, but I have not yet.
But I can't remember the original Sirens of Time very well, and I don't want to listen to it twice. Do you know what I mean? Because to compare, but we probably should have.
It probably is something that needs to be done. Listening to both of them, basically almost in succcon, just so that you can have the proper compare and contrast regarding the whole two.
But, yeah.
But anyway, that being said, we do have some Big Finish news, and that news is. Well, first off, I was super excited to see, because I just, because of Big Finishmas, and I do appreciate that Big Finish dropping things around this time. They didn't seem to make a huge deal for me from what I saw out of V, but when I saw that, that was a huge deal for me. I really enjoyed the classic TV series. And to see that it is kind of like a UK, centric, since even though all of these things were happening all around Earth, obviously, with Doctor Who, for some reason, aliens only invade mostly
Britain,
and
which makes no sense to me.
But
it's and again, it's like Marvel, like it's always in America. I think that's why I really appreciated Miss Marvel, because. You actually got to see her go to India and see that there's superheroes and stuff in India, like people with powers and stuff in India, like which I think they should do more of. They should lean into that more. Like, why haven't we got MCU New Zealand or something? Like I think that would be.
Now you're making it sound like Law and Order New Zealand, MCU New Zealand.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we did have with the our Big Finish release was the time tunnel, and I was
in Alan's time tunnel. I was like, "What is this? I've never heard of this."
No, not only had I never heard of it, but. Well, and I'm just going to pull something up, now that we're kind of trying to do a YouTube thing. Eventually we'll do a live stream, but this is just, working out all the bells and whistles. And
it's on you. I don't mind doing a live stream whenever. So,
well, I know, but you know what? I'm trying to not boomer it up as, much as possible. So anyway, so the time tunnel is, let me see, pull this up. So I thought it was interesting. So one of the people that, as I was looking at the review of the classic TV series, talked about it, says, believe it or not, both the Time Tunnel and Star Trek debuted the same week back in 1966. That, my friend, is very interesting. and it said
Hmm.
it says the premiere placing the heroes of the time tunnel on doomed Titanic beat Star Trek's salt-sucking monster disguised as a wife first episode. However, I'm not sure if it beat it in ratings, but according to this reviewer, he found that episode was more enjoyable than the original one. And as I was going back and forth, so the storyline for the TV series is the scientists Tony Newman and Doug Phillips are young heads at Project TikTok, not to be confused with the stupid app that has everybody addicted to it in the 21st century.
Well, speak for yourself.
I'm not addicted to it because I refuse to have it on my phone.
No.
Says a
Yep,
multi-billion-dollar government installation buried beneath the desert. They have invented a time tunnel which will allow people to visit anywhere in time and space. While testing the tunnel for an impatient senator, Newman and Phillips became trapped in time. Each week, coincidentally, they found themselves at the site of an important historic event, it being the Siege of Troy, the sinking of the Titanic, or the assassination attempt on President Lincoln.
Like Quantum Leap, but like 20 years before, maybe?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because Quantum Leap was that done in the 80s? Or was it 90s?
Yeah, the Quantum Leap was done in the 80s, so yeah.
See that really throws me because like I keep thinking it's a 90s show and it's really not. It's really weird to me that it's not.
It was mostly done in the 80s. I think maybe one of the last seasons or so was in the 90s. I never watched it. My parents were huge fans of Quantum Leap. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's the only reason why I knew about it. So.
Yeah, I preferred Scott Bakula in Enterprise though. So.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I would easily love to. I think he is such an underrated actor, in my opinion. I really do.
He is, and I really hope that they they actually might do a because they obviously the success of Star Trek that they might even go back and continue and maybe do an Enterprise season 5. I don't know, that would be nice, but one can dream.
I know. Well, what they really need to do is they really need to work on getting. They also need to work on getting the series that they were thinking about doing with the 3rd season of Picard, which I think would have been great. But from what I hear, Terry Matalas, who did the 3rd season of Picard, is now working with the MCU. So it sounds like he is no longer doing Star Trek stuff, which is a shame because the 3rd season of Picard is probably, I think, my favorite Star Trek TV series in the 21st century. And I will say, I've not watched Enterprise yet. So
Oh, dude. It's good. It's a very underrated Star Trek show.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say definitely watch it. It's worth it.
So the stealth drop, unless I guess you're a Vortex reader, I will tell you, if they ever do a stealth, Big Finish podcast, I will never know. So but it's Irwin Allen's time tunnel, The Nightmare Begins. The synopsis is in 1979, 20 years after it was set up, Project TikTok was shut down by the American authorities. All hope of retrieving scientists Tony Newman and Doug Phillips lost in the time tunnel in 1968 had been abandoned. In 2025, 4 people are brought together by a need to reopen the Arizona base to reactivate the time tunnel. From there, they must try to find Doug or Tony because something they have done in the past has changed the present, and not for the better. The world is now under the power of Ravakia, or whatever it is. And then it says further story details will follow. Interesting thing about this is, according to the copyright, it says that the time tunnel is a 20th Century Fox corporation, which, if memory serves me right, 20th Century Fox is owned by Disney. So,
is it?
I believe so. Anyway, currently the cast, they only have 4 people cast. And I was doing a compare and contrast between the IMDb page of these characters. It looks like, we have Haworth, which is Sean Carlson. He is probably going to be playing a nephew or grandson of one of the characters that was lost in the original series. We have we have Claire McGregor, who, again, McGregor is one of the last names of one of the people who was lost. So again, I believe that this is going to be grandkids trying to save or find their grandparents. That is just my belief. Interestingly, we have this series is being directed by Gary Russell. It's good to have him back at Big Finish. The script editor is Gary Russell and Mark B. Oliver. I don't know who that is. But currently, I don't see who is writing these. We don't have a writer for any of these listed currently. All we do have...
Which is like, it's January. It's coming out next month.
I know.
What are they doing?
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. I'm very excited for that. I've never seen the series, but in fact, I'm curious. I'm going to check to see if it's available on YouTube, because FYI, just a little side that I was going to bring up, the BBC, for, I believe, people not in the UK, and I'm not sure if it works in Australia and New Zealand, but the BBC has a YouTube channel where they're slowly uploading classic Doctor Who episodes, and possibly trying, because right now they have the Doctor Who channel on Pluto TV. They have the Doctor Who channel on Tubi, which is another free streaming TV service over here. I don't know if it's available in the UK. But now they're slowly uploading all of these classic episodes on a Big Finish channel, probably to get some, TV or ad money from the United States or wherever they're allowed to.
Speaking of some insider information, I was talking to a friend recently, and they were saying that some insider info is that the BBC are not happy with Disney, and they're trying to get Doctor Who back on BBC America.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah,
I've really been sorry.
And interestingly, apparently, when it was under the obviously the auspice of Chibnall. Again, even like the producers and stuff were kind of saying that the show was cancelled, or was like very likely going to be cancelled, and it was literally only like a higher up of the BBC literally just went, no, this is not happening. You're not cancelling the show. This has happened once before. This is this is basically an institution. Like, it's not being cancelled. So it's only, again, we're not sure who that higher up was or is, but all I know, again, is from a pretty reliable source, is that the show was so close to being cancelled, but it was only thanks to this higher up who just went, no, you're not cancelling the show. And it looks like, according to some other info, that the Joy to the World obviously has done quite well on the ratings for...
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to Disney, Joy to the World. But interesting. So there are a couple of episodes of the Time Tunnel available on YouTube. It doesn't look like all episodes are available, but they are. You could probably track some of them down. According to some of the research that I did, I could not find any
streaming
place where you could stream it or watch any of these series,
Try Dailymotion.
Okay.
Because I was having the same issue with, I wanted to go back and rewatch Phoenix Nights, which was like the early 2000s Peter Kay TV series that was quite funny. And it's only available on DVD or whatever, and but it's not available on streaming, but it's on Dailymotion. So,
so yeah,
try that.
Just I'll look at that in just 1 second. So, BBC Doctor Who channel, which again, I'm not sure if it's available over there. They're constantly uploading a brand new one every almost week or so, and this is quite interesting to see some of their choices that they've done. So for the first Doctor, they have the Dalek invasion of Earth and the Aztecs. And I do like that they have them in categories. The second Doctor, now this, my friend, is very interesting. I'd love your thoughts on this because I don't know what my actual thoughts are. And I'm going to relay something. I'm just going to read off the ones that are available for the second Doctor and see if you notice something that the BBC is doing. And I'm not sure I like it, but I'm not sure I hate it either. So here are the second Doctor episodes, stories available on YouTube. Evil of the Daleks, The Abominable Snowmen, The Faceless Ones, The Macroterra, The Enemy of the World, and The Mind Robber. What did you notice about the majority of the ones for the second Doctor?
They're all the ones that have recently received animated treatment.
Yeah.
Bar the Mind Robber, obviously, which is, all there. So, I mean, I can see why they're doing it. I was quite surprised the War Games wasn't there. But I mean, maybe give it a year and it might be up there. But I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, like I said, they're all ones that have had animated treatment, all the animated treatment. So I can see why they've done that. And I suppose, again, there's a lot of second Doctor ones that are missing, though, annoyingly. So,
yeah. But yeah, the ones that look like they've had the most uploaded is, and this is quite interesting because they don't seem to be doing it in any particular rhyme or reason. For example, the third Doctor, the first one that they uploaded for the third Doctor is Inferno.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. The next one that they uploaded was Spearhead from Space. Then followed by the Sea Devils, followed by the Time Warrior, followed by the Invasion of the Dinosaurs, followed by Day of the Daleks, Colony of Space, and then the most recent one that they uploaded 6 days as of recording of this podcast, The Mind of Evil.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not getting the logic at all there, but all right.
No. And it's quite interesting to see what they're doing also, because I'm looking at the fourth Doctor ones. I am just amazed at the episodes that are getting one of the episodes that is getting one of the most viewed. There's one that I could see why. So they have Horror Fang Rock, Destiny of the Daleks, Warrior's Gate, City of Death, Genesis of the Daleks, the Ribos Operation, Full Circle, and the Sunmaker. You will never guess. So I'll give you a hint. I'll tell you the one that has been viewed the most, and that is the City of Death. As
Okay.
of day of recording, over 28,000 people have viewed City of Death.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's
The
one
Sunmakers.
that is only 3,000 behind.
The Sunmakers.
No, that one's pretty close, but no.
Okay.
Warrior's Gate,
What?
25,000 views.
Why? It's not that. It's not.
Well,
even
and
that
here's
good
the
of a
thing,
story.
odd thing. It's the third episode of the Fourth Doctor that's been uploaded. Horror Fang Rock and Destiny of the Daleks both have 1,000 views as of day of recording, which means more people have watched Warrior's Gate than Destiny of the Daleks or Horror Fang Rock combined.
Okay, I don't quite see.
Mm-hmm.
Why.
I thought that was
I mean,
interesting.
Like I said, I remember Warrior's Gate being kind of boring, but it's been a
Mhm.
while.
Oh, yeah. It is.
And actually, I tried to rewatch Destiny of the Daleks recently, and I kind of I think I stopped at episode 2 because it was just annoying me, and I don't know why. Like, I remember Destiny of the Daleks kind of being a really good story,
Mhm.
but so far it's just I don't like the way they're writing this. Romana at the time, she's a bit kind of still the oh help me heroine kind of thing,
Mhm.
damsel in distress type deal. Which yeah, don't know. I'm like you're a Time Lord, you're not helpless.
Mhm. Oh yeah, very true. All right. So from that, we are going to go to some Doctor Who news. And I'm going to start off with on our previous podcast, we discussed future possible Blu-rays, and we have now got an official release of the next Blu-ray to be released, which is season 7, or the first season of John Pertwee's Doctor Who, which collects 4 stories: Spearhead from Space, the Doctor Who and the Silurians, The Ambassadors of Death, and Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do like this series. I think this is probably one of the strongest Third Doctor ones. Spearhead from Space obviously being great. I find the Silurians really good. The Ambassadors of Death, I think, is a quirky one, and Inferno I like, but it's also too long at the same exact time.
I remember Ambassador of Death being quite good, and same, obviously with. See again, Silurians again. I wasn't so fond of. And Inferno was pretty good. I didn't mind Inferno,
and
of course, Spearheads are obviously always good. So you can't beat Spearhead really.
And it's interesting because we have some new extras. There is a profile on Nicholas Courtney, Looking for Mac, uncovering the story for writer Malcolm Hulke. Terror in the Suburbs, where Doctor Who came down to Earth. Lucky number 13, Rockets, Aliens, and Spare Parts, How Science of the Day Influenced Doctor Who. Behind the Sofa, featuring Katie Manning as Jo, Matthew Waterhouse, I'm not going to go. Matthew Waterhouse, Janet Fielding, Sarah Sutton, Sophie Aldred, and Toby Haydock. And then they have the late Carolyn John's family, husband Jeffrey Beavers and daughter Daisy Ashford, also in the Behind the Sofa.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. We got in conversation, Matthew Sweet chats with John Levine about his life and his career. And then they have a Doctor Who Escape Room. I never, ever watched any of the ones on the previous one that I got, but maybe it's good. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then they have the Silurians and Inferno in an omnibus editions. So that's going to be quite interesting. And, with that announcement, that only leaves for the Third Doctor just season 11 that needs to be done, and then for the fourth Doctor, is it just the Key to Time series that has not been in Blu-ray? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. Hmm.
Interesting. All right. Well, actually, I was going to say not with that. We got some other news. We have Rose Ayling-Ellis to guest star in Doctor Who. She'll be joining Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor in an upcoming season of Doctor Who, which will air sometime in 2025. Now, the only reason I bring this up is, wasn't she one of the ones that was announced to possibly being the Doctor at one point in time?
I think people wanted her to be. I think people wanted her to be a companion.
Hmm.
I mean, I like her. I mean, she's a cool actress. So, and it's nice to have more disabled representation on
Mhm.
TV. Just in general. So, I hope she maybe becomes a companion. That would be kind of cool.
Mhm.
So, yeah. I mean, I haven't watched her in much stuff. I mean, she was in EastEnders,
Mhm.
which is not really my thing, but I've seen bits when my mum's been watching it and whatever, and thought she
Mhm.
was a good actress. But um, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she plays, or who she plays in the new season.
Yeah, that will be interesting. And I need you to walk me through something because
Mhm.
I don't know what this means. Tom Baker honored with MBE. That exploded on Twitter, and
Um,
I tried to figure out what the heck that was.
MBE. He's
So,
he's he's basically been given um like an
a
award from
knight?
yeah. He's been given an award from the king. MBE to like MBE is like services to something. So it could be services to television, or not television, but services
Mhm.
to like the NHS, or what does it even mean? You might want to pull it up and get the
Well,
actual meaning of MBE.
I've looked it up, and it doesn't make any sense to me. That's why I asked.
What does it
But my
mean?
only
Sorry, because
question
I can never,
is,
like, because you can get, because there's different things. So you can get an MBE, you can get an OBE,
mhm,
um, I think CBE. It's basically just different. I think just different awards, basically from the royals to basically recognize people, either for their work in whatever um like format, whether that be uh voluntary work, or like work in acting, or
mhm.
whatever. And it's just basically just a recognition of of that, and like of their career. I mean, he's what, 90, so
Yeah,
and he's still working technically, because
I know.
of obviously Big Finish. So um yeah, it's just services to basically, I guess, Britain, or and the people of Britain, I suppose. Um,
Hmm.
so which is nice. So
So it's not like he becomes Sir Tom Baker, does he? Or
MBE is a British honour that is awarded to a person by the King and Queen for a particular achievement,
mhm.
and it means member of the British Empire.
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah.
Cool, cool. All right. So a 4-hour Doctor Who story in black and white, colorized, and turned into a 90-minute feature.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Because I know where I stand with this, and I'm just curious what you think.
See, that there's things that I like about it, and there's things I don't like about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 255-minute story that's been cut by like almost half,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not had the bollocks to go back and watch the War Games and then watch the colorized version of the War Games, because that would just think, yeah, that's dedication right there.
It is.
So, but I mean, I know from reviews, people were saying that like some of the characters don't make much sense or don't seem to be as like pivotal because of the editing that's gone on within the colorized version.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there are bits I like about it, and there's bits I really don't like about it. I think my overall thoughts are, though, that it is what it is. I can see why they're doing it, kind of. It's trying to introduce Doctor Who to a younger audience, because people who, for some reason, I don't know, it just boggles the mind why you can't sit down and watch a black and white TV thing, or it has to be in color. And people's attention spans are just ridiculous now, which bugs me to no end. But that might be just because I'm getting old. Who knows? I don't know. Hence, also another reason why I'm not on TikTok. Yeah, I could rant about that all day. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to have Doctor Who on TV again. Classic Doctor Who. Doctor Who on TV. That was quite a nice experience, actually, to go, oh, Doctor Who's on TV. I'm gonna go watch that. Like, so it felt kind of nice to sit there for an hour and a half and watch Doctor Who. That was longer than an hour. In sort of the modern kind of, or from a modern standpoint. So yeah, it was nice to have a classic episode of Doctor Who on TV. I don't know, it's just something it's different about it, isn't it? Rather than going, oh yeah, I'm gonna go watch Doctor Who. Okay, I'm gonna put in a Blu-ray or stream it or whatever. But it was nice to actually go, yeah, it's actually on TV.
Yeah.
Not gonna say that it felt like sort of being back in the day, as it were, but I can see why I can see the sort of appeal of that. It's actually it's a shame that they don't just sort of maybe put Doctor Who on, like, even if it was like once a week, just BBC4, and just like stream Doctor Who in an episode, and just stream it like once a week, like on a particular day at a particular time, just on say BBC4. So it'd be nice to have it on BBC One, but I mean, hey, there's several BBC channels now, so I think that would be kind of cool if they did that, because yeah, just nice to do. What are your thoughts?
So I thought it was interesting because, and one of the struggles that I've noticed with, because what is it, Ted Turner of Turner Media or whatnot, he had
Ted Turner, who's Ted Turner?
He's an American. He ran TV. He owned TBS. He owned TNT. The Turner Broadcasting Network or something like that. Anyway, he had classic movies colorized. He what is it? A couple of Cary Grant movies. He had
that's ironic.
Casablanca colorized back in the late 90s. And there is just something wrong about the whole thing. And because you have to light everything
differently.
Differently. Now, here's an interesting thing that I didn't really pick up on many things, or when I was reading people's thoughts and reviews about the whole situation. And that being that in the Macroterra, the TARDIS console is green. In a couple of the other episodes, the Fury from the Deep, the TARDIS console is green. And we know it's green because they needed it. If it was white, it would be too white for black and white TV. Now, interesting thing about the colorized version of this is they colorized the TARDIS console of being white. And I find that fascinating because the next time we see the TARDIS console in actual color during the Third Doctor era, the console is slightly green because they did not change it one bit. So I found that kind of interesting, that they would, like, the animators would go to the furthest extent to make it green because that's exactly what the color was when it was in color.
Mm-hmm.
But when they colorized the actual footage of not a Lost episode, but of an old classic episode that was in black and white, they colorized the TARDIS console as being white. I thought that was kind of interesting to some extent. Probably not as interesting as many people might think, but I found that quite an interesting
And I
fact.
suppose you could also argue that also, you know, if you want to sort of be a bit kind of timey-wimey about the whole thing, it doesn't really matter because from there's still season 6B, right? That takes place,
Yeah.
between War Games and Spearhead.
Yeah, very
So
true.
what's to say that the console at that point isn't
Is
white?
not white.
And then when it goes back to Spearhead, it goes back to green.
Yeah, very true.
So
The only answer to that would be and I'd have to probably rewatch the Two Doctors because to see what the center console looks like from the Two Doctors. So that would be something to just kind of double check.
Yeah.
Regarding that, I found lighting aside.
Actually, sorry, before you continue on.
Okay, continue.
Before you carry on. The one gripe I do have, and this was completely like, I think this was a really cheeky way of doing it. The BBC said in the original article about the War Games in color that this was found footage, right?
Oh, there was no way that was found footage.
Yes, exactly right. Yes, and it was found footage, and it had not been seen since 1966, right? Sorry, 1969. Sorry.
Yes.
Now, that's so wrong because that was not found footage.
No.
And it was, and they were making it out to be new but lost footage, and I'm like, no, it's not new. It's yes, the John Pertwee stuff was taken, I think, from an old fan film thing that was done in the 90s. I can't remember where though, but it was.
Yeah.
But to say that was original shot footage is really cheeky because it wasn't, because it was animated by the Confession Dial and they used it and updated it and did a few things to it going forward.
Yeah, to de-age John Pertwee because in the original one, he was his age when it was originally shot and recorded in the 90s. Yeah.
So I didn't think that's really cheeky of the BBC to say that it was, oh, this is lost footage. Piss off. No, it wasn't. Because I was like, I was really like, oh my God, some new footage that we've never seen. Like, this is amazing. And I'm like, this is really cool. And even because you've played this stuff on the podcast before. I asked Derek Sherwin that question was at Hooverville was why did you do the regeneration the way you did it, and why was he spinning in the void? Like, what was that whole thing about? Like, why was that done? And his response was that it was left ambiguous, which is fine. But then turn around for the BBC to turn around now and go, oh yeah, this is new footage. Nah.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of an annoyance. But yeah.
So yeah.
What was your point? You were saying something.
So they also, what they did is, and they did it in the colorization of the Daleks, where they would have a model of Skaro, or what they would do, and they didn't do it as often in the War Games as I wish that they would have, where they would have a model of Skaro and they would have Ian talking or the Doctor talking, and this insinuated that time is passing and, they're doing this, or what they would do is they would, kind of almost use the discussion, this is what we're going to do, and they would overlay it with the action that was actually happening. So you would hear the action that, was being planned by, either the Thals or whatnot, but you'd hear Ian talking about it so that it didn't seem like it was out of left field for this to be happening. The only problem I had with doing that is sometimes you'd assume that it wasn't, this was the plan, but are you watching it in real time, or are you watching this is the ideal of what the plan would look like? And I think that was, like you said, they're coloring it to get a younger audience into the classic series. But at the same time, one of my biggest gripes about this is, they did do model shots in here to, show that either time has passed, or B,
Gallifrey as well.
Yeah, they're moving into a new setting,
which apparently looks really janky in comparison.
It does, because I really wish, because what they did is they CGI'd it. They basically made the CGI look like it was a model shot done in the 1960s. That's fine. But you know what? If you really wanted to do a model shot to make it look like the 1960s, do a miniature model, not a computer animated model, because that's what really I found took me out of it, because you'd have like this grainy color and then you would have this almost pristine model shot.
Yeah, which is weird.
And so I didn't particularly care about that. I found personally the story really flowed good. I did not like the constant incidental music.
Oh my God. Yeah. And this is the thing that annoys me. It was like, they're trying to make it like modern Doctor Who,
and
it's not. Leave it alone. It doesn't need music every 5 seconds.
Well, not only that, but
was it new, or was it kind of also sometimes hard to hear the dialogue?
Yes,
because of the bloody music. Yeah.
And what I would do is, I started rewatching some of the I have not watched some of the classic Christmas episodes in a while. So I've been rewatching some of them. And did you know that even modern Doctor Who does not have constant incidental music? Why on earth did they have near nonstop incidental music during the colorized version of the War Games? It just didn't work for me. And the other thing that I really struggled with also was, if the story flowed, yes, there was constant incidental music, but around the halfway mark, around the 45-minute mark, beyond that part, I feel as though they cut and altered time in which Zoe was doing things, the Doctor was doing things, and they cut out large chunks of the episodes to make things, 90 minutes. I feel as though the BBC said, it's 90 minutes. Make it 90 minutes. I don't care how, just make it 90 minutes. And I feel as though had they made it 110 minutes, it's 110 minutes. But to saw the, the original story off at the legs just to colorize it and make it 90 minutes did not do the story a good service, because you had the Civil War era, which did play a couple of parts in the 10 episode War Games. The only reason why I felt as though they would have loved to have cut that part out altogether. But what they needed to do is they needed to have the black soldier to be able to get, relay that he actually has not been mind wiped and he remembers everything. And he knows that he's not in the Civil War era, and he is part of the rebel group that is trying to attack the War Council or whatnot.
Mhm.
And that was the only purpose for that scene, but it was very jarring.
Mm.
And there was a lot of points in time beyond the 40-minute mark that I found very jarring and very rushed. And it wasn't until we got the Time Lord scene, probably about like, I wouldn't say minute 79. Now we have about less than 10 minutes left of the episode. And now it's finally beginning to breathe once again.
And was
It,
it
w- it
and was it
yeah.
me as well, or was the scenes between the Doctor, Zoe, and Jamie also cut? Like
Yeah.
the finale scenes,
Yeah.
because that felt like really weird.
Yeah.
Um,
It was totally rushed. And it's interesting because I saw on a couple of things on Twitter and various places that people that were complaining about it, you know, it was so interesting because you're like, they're complaining about it because they're just like, they've altered it. And then you have I want to say either A, the new series fans, or B, people who are just going to, take the alternate side just to be argumentative and actually not informative. It is like, well, why are you gatekeeping this from a younger generation? Do you find that not liking what some of the choices that they made is gatekeeping a classic black and white episode from the younger generation to enjoy a colorized version?
no, I
Because
mean,
I don't.
no, I don't like it. No,
But that's the complaint is, well, you're gatekeeping. Like, why do you have to gatekeep these, people from enjoying this? And it's just like, I'm not gatekeeping.
but
I want an actual good story
the thing
so that
is,
people, yeah,
the thing, yeah, I mean, and like the whole thing of gatekeeping, like, why is that even a thing? I mean,
yeah,
like, how is that even quote unquote stopping people from enjoying it just because you didn't enjoy it? How is that stopping other people from enjoying it? If they enjoyed it, well, they enjoyed it. That's their opinion.
mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really see how gatekeeping really works, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Just because I didn't
Well,
like something doesn't mean another person won't or shouldn't like it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. And it all goes down to personal opinions
Yeah,
and likes and dislikes.
yeah. Oh, but of course we can't have a personal opinion now on any social media platform because, well, it might piss somebody off.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
So yeah,
mm.
I I rated the colorized version. Oh, also, sorry, before I even get into the rating,
I don't
War
think,
Chief.
yeah, I'd say, yeah, we've not discussed the elephant in the room, that being.
So I don't know if you noticed it. I found it very subtle. I didn't hear many people discuss it, but the War Chief lying dead, face down on the floor, and they
I need to go
start.
back and rewatch that.
So
I missed
he's
it.
lying dead, face down on the floor after they kill him. He's off to the side, and there is a ever so subtle sound of regeneration noise.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not know the controversy about that before I watched it, and I was just like, "Oh, heck no. Heck no."
And did you hear the music as well?
I did. So here's the thing. I did not notice the John Sims master music.
I did, and the other
Uh-huh.
thing I noticed, they dropped one little sting of the Delgado.
That I heard.
I was like,
That
that was cool. Like, I like that because it suited the era.
Well, it's suited because it was the era in which it worked. But to do the John Sims,
yeah, it was like, I mean, like, if they just left it at that, right, and left that little sting with the Delgado thing, like, yeah, that's subtle. It also works, but to have the bloody did, I was like, oh my god, like, it's just like, this is just like being hit over the head with the iron bar, going, yeah, this is the master. If you've not realized it, like, can we not?
And here's the interesting thing. So there's two avenues that we can go down. And it's very interesting and personally fascinating when you think about it. So, fan theory. Fan theory was that, the faces on the brain of Morbius were Morbius. That if you listen to the cast and crew commentary on Brain of Morbius, Terrence Dicks said that it was supposed to be the Doctor, but fan theory made it that way. So, and like we've discussed many times before, if that's what the fan theory is, and if that works, you alter the theory and make it that. However, you also have Terrence Dicks on multiple instances in cast and crew commentaries, in interviews and whatnot, saying the Master is the Master, the War Chief is the War Chief. They are not the same person. And then Phil Collinson, or whatever his name is, goes and said, it has been my canon that the War Chief is the Master. And so I'm going to make the War Chief the Master in this edition.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, sadly, I'm more on Chris Chibnall's side with his Brain of Morbius thing than Phil Collinson, or whatever his name is, at altering what Terrence Dicks originally had done, because it was his canon. It was his brainchild that he fully believed in.
I mean, yes, right. If you go back and watch that scene of where they first meet, and he goes, "Oh, Zoe, run!" Like he looks at the War Chief and realizes who he is, and runs, and like he's scared, which again interesting, which I can kind of see why he would have gone, oh, okay, well, there's history between these characters. That clearly the Doctor knows who this person is. But I don't know if I like.
Well, and so the other day I started rewatching Terror of the Autons just to figure out if there's anything that I could glean from that. And the only thing you got is Roger Delgado's Master is, they call me the Master. And it's like, so is it sometimes they call me the Master? They now call me the Master? They call me the Master. And it's like, okay, can you, take and modify that and say that the War Chief just decided to go by an alternate name? Like, we've talked about it previously on the podcast. The Ronnie, the Monk, the Master, the he didn't really know the Monk until, the Time Meddler. But you have all of these Time Lords. You even have what's his face from the Key to Time. That
and there's obviously there's obviously the one that's been name dropped, but we've never seen, the Corsair.
Yeah, and so you have all these people that the Doctor does know. Why do we have to say that if they're evil,
they're the Master?
They're the Master. I mean, with that attitude,
why is it always the Master?
Yeah,
why can't it be the War Chief? Like because it makes Doctor Who smaller.
Yes, it does.
And I'm just like, can't it just be the War Chief? If you just left it at that, right, and just kept the music as is, didn't include the John Sim thing, but had the regeneration thing, I would have been okay with that. I would have been, that's cool. Okay, he might pop up again in the future. We might see him later on down the line. So there's a potential to bring him back in the modern era.
Yes. That would be, because again, we can't use the Ronnie because of the Pip and Jane Baker estate.
Currently.
Okay, fine. Okay.
And the Master's overused.
Why couldn't it be? Here's the interesting thing. Why couldn't it have been the Time Meddler? Why couldn't it have been the Meddling Monk? Because remember, the monk really likes to see what would happen. Maybe this is a more stern, more serious, more Graham Garden type of a meddling monk.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that would make, for me, more sense than it would be for it being the master.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose the other thing, I guess we've got to talk about in the war games is firstly, what were your thoughts on the inserted faces?
I did not like that.
Because people were like, these are terrible. Like, these are just really terrible shots that have just been like taken from photo shoots that they've not even been
Well,
doctored in quotes to like, you know, look like, because what was it? Was it Tennant or was it Jodie Whittaker who was like holding the sonic screwdriver in like one of the shots that they decided to use? I'm like, why would you use that shot, for Christ's sake?
Well, and here's the thing. Those shots remind me of, remember in I think the 50th anniversary where they would do a special highlight on each doctor, like the Doctor, a Time Lord traveler from the planet Gallifrey, blah, blah, blah. There is many incarnations. Let's take a look at the fifth incarnation. And what they would do is they would have a variety of shots that kind of look, the best way I could describe it would be, it would be what you would expect would be on some kind of, not
PowerPoint,
surveillance camera, but some sort of like MI5 dossier type of a thing, in action mode.
Mugshot type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mugshot would be them just like staring face forward, but it's more of an action, like, a spy had taken a picture subtly while they were in the process of doing something, explaining something, pointing at something or whatnot. And that's how it looked like. And I did not like it because, and here's the main reason why I didn't like the use of that, is it basically means that the Doctor is going to be predestined to be these people.
Yeah.
And I think that makes everything kind of sloppy.
Even if you can't remember it, there's still going to be that subconscious thing of, well, he's going to become these incarnations because he's seen them. So even if he doesn't remember them, what's to say that the body doesn't retain the knowledge of that.
Okay,
like,
so I just barely realized something. I can't recall because I was annoyed. They use Peter Capaldi, right?
They use Capaldi, they use Whittaker, they used
so yeah, but my number one question was, they used Capaldi, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did Capaldi get his face?
Because of the Fires of Pompeii episode.
So how could he be predestined to have that face if he hadn't seen it? And it makes no sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was.
Do you know what? Do you know what I think would have been even funnier is if they'd not used Capaldi, but they'd used Matt Smith, and him saying, "Oh, he's too old," and using Matt Smith's face just as like a jab. Like,
that would be funny.
Because like you could argue that he's being forced regenerated at that point. His brain's not making much sense. Like, I don't know. I think that would have made more sense than using Capaldi.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your thoughts though on obviously the final scene, the actual new in quotes,
the regeneration
footage, and everything?
I mean, it was fine, I guess. I didn't think it was something that was needed. And I think it takes away the season 6B also.
No, it doesn't. No, it
Oh,
doesn't.
yeah?
Because they explicitly say in Beyond War Games that he is taken a second.
Well, yeah. Well, no.
He is
but
taken. He is taken out of his time stream a second before he regenerates. So this
But
says,
again,
and then he's taken on and does all these missions in Beyond the War, and then he's literally just dropped back into his time stream right before he regenerates. So there's nothing to contradict that, which I'm fine with.
well, okay. And here's where I'm not fine with that. Is we're fine with it because we listen to Big Finish. People that don't and have enjoyed the season 6B story, the two doctors, as well as some of the BBC books from the early 2000s, it totally nixes those. So yeah, it's fine for a Big Finish audience to accept that and be fine with it. But everybody else who is not somebody who purchases...
How else would they have done it, though? I mean, how else? I mean, because they can't. There was no way that they could slot that in, or say, or have something dialogue-wise to convey that. Because
I don't think it's a scene that needed to happen. I think you should just hear regeneration noise and it fade to black, originally the way that Chris Chibnall killed the show. But again, that is just my opinion.
I mean, I liked it. I thought it was nice that we got a sitting regeneration for once. I liked the fact that we saw the Nestines coming to Earth at the time. That was kind of cool to have tie in to Spearhead. And I really appreciated the TARDIS, chronometer time, time dating thing flicking between 70 and 80. Which obviously, was explained again in the Legacy of Time Big Finish box set, to say that there was the whole, that there's a reason that basically the unit, because of the time stuff that was going on, unit takes place in both the 70s and the 80s. All that era. So I did appreciate that. So I thought, yeah, there were bits of it, that were cool, and I think was a nice added bit to it. So I didn't mind that bit personally.
Okay. Well, what would you rate the Doctor Who and the War Games?
6 out of 10. Like I say, I appreciated it because it was a classic episode. It was on TV, TV. Music sucked. War Chief thing kind of sucked mostly. Regeneration was nice. Yeah.
You're so much more nicer than me.
So
I would give it a 4.
Oof.
Maybe 4.5 if I had to, but it's one of those, unless there is a Blu-ray that has special features on it, I can't imagine myself wanting to own this sucker.
I think there is special features. I think that there might be. I'm not sure.
There probably will be, because I'd love for the people that cut it to explain themselves, like, why did we cut the scenes that we cut? So
who knows? They might do it. They might decide to do a rethink and maybe a re-release either of the War Games, like they did Power of the Daleks, or like Shada. So we might get a longer version.
What are you telling me that I might have as many versions of the War Games as I have as Shada?
Maybe.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, with that, let's get to the Christmas special, the Joy to the World.
Or
Now,
Worlds, as it was on Disney. So which is it, guys?
was it Joy to the Worlds on Disney?
Yep. If you look at if you go back and look up the Disney poster,
Okay.
it says Joy to the Worlds.
Let's see. I don't know. I'm looking at the Disney poster right now, and it just says Joy to the World. So actually, it says Special 5. Wait. Yep. Joy to the World. They must have changed it.
There's definitely a hope, because there was definitely a thing, and there was a thing, and it was a whole Twitter discussion, and people were tweeting Disney going, what is it? Joy to the World or Joy to the Worlds? And their response was, well, wait and watch and find out. Like, literally, like, really? Like, serious? That's your response? Wait and go watch it to find out? What a really shit response.
That's funny. Disney can't admit when they're wrong. Speaking of that, Disney, like the Sonic 3 movie is constantly crushing Disney. And
what do you mean?
Like, more people are seeing it than they are seeing Mufasa.
Oh, that's Disney. That's out, is it? Or is it?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was coming out. What is it? A prequel?
It's a prequel to find out why Mufasa is the king and whatnot. You know, the evolution of evil from Scar being Mufasa's brother to wanting to have him dead and stuff like that.
Who cares?
But it's not an animated one. It's one of those live action ones, which I hate live action ones. But anyway, Disney for the past 2 weeks is constantly saying basically false information. They're saying, Mufasa #1 worldwide. Well, yeah, 2 weeks ago, it was the only new movie that was being broadcast worldwide. So they were versing who now?
No one.
No one.
Yeah.
So then, but Sonic 3 beat them in the domestic, the American market nationwide. And Sonic was not out worldwide at that point in time. This week, Sonic is now available worldwide. It is crushing Disney. It is in less theaters than Disney's Mufasa, because Disney is basically kind of bullying theaters and saying, we will have the IMAX theater. We will have this. We will have this. You will do this for us. They're in less theaters than Sonic 3, or they're in more theaters than Sonic 3. And Disney's still in second place.
Yeah.
And
good because I mean, I think both Sonic movies prior to this have had really good rave reviews. So, I mean,
but it's funny that Disney is marketing that for the second week in a row, Mufasa is the #1 movie worldwide, and it actually isn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, Disney doing stuff is, Disney lying and deceiving is just, another day that ends in Y.
Yep. Pretty much.
So last year about this time, you and me podcasted. We talked about the Church on Ruby Road, which you liked and I was really not a fan of. And I have struggled with RTD Part 2 Season 1. I've not been a fan of Ncuti as the Doctor. I just don't think currently, or for Season 1, did not think he was a good actor as a lead person. So I went into Joy to the World with no expectations. And I think in doing so, I actually enjoyed Joy to the World. I like I've heard I've watched some people criticize Joy to the World. The Bethlehem Star is now like, that's sacrilege, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
come on.
Why does
Really?
Stephen Moffat do this? You know
Wow.
what?
I don't care.
I did not care.
No.
It was a fun story. And I will tell you, what is it? Anita? Like, that was the best character of the entire story.
Well, there's apparently the Timer Hotel is going to return in season 2, and people are thinking Anita is Mrs. Flood.
Interesting.
Which
I mean, the only thing that annoys me about any of that is when Mrs. Flood broke the fourth wall and stared and talked to the camera. Like, that still really bothers me. But anyway,
I mean, it's not the first time that's been done, though.
Here's an interesting thing that I saw somebody brought up, that Stephen Moffat, I have not noticed a trope that Stephen Moffat does, but it got brought up, and I can't think of some of the other instances where, so in Silence in the Library, you have the, what are they called?
Fashion errata.
Yeah. They eat you from the shadow or whatnot. And after they eat you, the last thing that, you say, you're able to communicate, like, who turned out the light, that type of a thing. And it's done through technology. You have the angel from Time of, was it?
Oh, Time
what was that?
Flesh and Stone, Time of the Angels?
Yeah. You have the angel Bob, who is able to talk to them through technology. And so somebody pointed out that, of course, the guy that has a technological implant in his head will die, and the doctor is going to have to communicate to him through technology because it is a Moffat trope. I had no idea that Moffat constantly did that in some of his stories.
Wow.
Not all of them.
And then, of course, no. But then look at Boom. Same thing.
Same thing with Boom. You're right. Yes.
Valengard? Yeah. Valengard, sorry. Technology again. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting, I didn't realize that Moffat had that kind of a trope that he was constantly doing, but, whatever. I did not like Joy.
No.
Joy,
no. Joy was annoying.
Joy, if I was the doctor, I'd be like, not going to save you.
Yeah.
But Anita was fantastic. The story itself.
I mean, it would have been nice to sort of know why she was kind of like alone. Like, why was she so why was she sad? Was she sad because she was single? Like, what was that all about? Like,
I think it was single. It was, even though her mom had died previously.
No, that was Joy. No, that was Joy.
Oh, Anita?
Yeah, Anita, yeah. Like why was
I
she
think Anita
sad?
was sad because from what my understanding is she worked at, like, not a delightful, like, 4-star, 5-star hotel. She was just there, doesn't have the happiest of jobs. I'm going to assume that not that many people want to constantly work there. And so, and I believe when the doctor was just like, hey, do you have an opening? And, I'm going to need to stay here for a year. What can I do to do that? And she realized, she was kind of cold or whatnot, just waiting for him to leave her, like all the other employees and whatnot, like, almost like she was a lifer there. I feel as though that was Anita's struggle and why it hurt her so much the day that he was going to leave is because she'd finally developed, for one time, a friend and a coworker in one. And then now she's going to be left to her druthers, probably working with, college-age kids that won't want to be there, teenagers who won't want to be there and whatnot. And, she's the only constant at that hotel. That's what I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I don't know, and just the whole, Joy wasn't that great. Like,
No. I found I like the idea of the case constantly trying to upgrade to the person who it could, manipulate to get to the next part. I did find it odd that when the T-Rex ate it, the case just being inside the T-Rex's stomach was able to, take it over. I thought that was odd.
No, it was a bit. And did you figure out the whole why they always said the flesh will rise? Like, so was that always going to be the case? Like, the flesh, they meant the flesh will rise literally, as in you'll turn into energy and you'll just rise, or like what? Like, because that was a bit of a weird thing to say and not explain.
I think that star thing always needed to, I could not fulfill its purpose without it being a part of one person. And so I feel as though, and isn't it a shame? Like, even though, joy to the world, she brings light, she brings hope, she radiates or whatnot around the world, is the Star of Bethlehem, does that, whatnot. But isn't it a shame that the most miserable person is that?
Well, just goes to show. I mean, gotta love religion.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And I will tell you, before I had watched the episode, I had heard some people's complaints. And again, my expectations were low. And then I still struggle with people bringing up, the COVID stuff like that. And I was on the fence, ready to criticize the crap out of it, because again, it was a really hard part of my life. I do not like when people acknowledge it, but how they acknowledged it, I felt as though was correct. Like, Joy did listen and follow to all the instructions at the point of not being able to see her loved ones in person. I feel very fortunate that I was able to see some of my loved ones in person.
The only issue I had with that was, apparently it was described and well, because I was watching a YouTube talk about it, and they were like, why did they have a really crisp video call? Like, why couldn't they have just done an actual video call on a fucking iPad? And
they did.
Yeah, but it was too clear. You know what I mean? It was too crisp. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of out of place again.
Are you saying that? First off, are you saying that phone call in 2020 should not have been a 4K phone call?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, a bit of a gripe, but yeah, the episode itself was all right. It was kind of average. It was averagey, wasn't it? It was a Christmas episode, so I didn't expect
a
lot. It was okay.
For me, it was better than the Church on Ruby Road.
I liked we saw a bit of a darker side to Shooty. But the one thing I don't get was, though, right, that was like made no sense whatsoever, was, so he berates her, right, to get her out of the whole mind thing, and then she hugs him. Like,
which is, it's interesting because I just barely watched Last Christmas, and that's exactly what the 12th Doctor did to Clara to get the dream crab off of her. He berates her constantly, or not get her off of her, but to get her to focus on not sending out mental waves to the dream crab. He starts berating her, telling her that, of course you're not happy. Of course, blah, blah, blah. You're not with Danny Pink, blah, 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 blah. And then she slaps him across the face.
Yeah. Well,
angrily.
I mean, that's just Clara for you though, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, angrily, because Clara lied to him about Danny Pink
Everything
not dying.
Yeah.
And but the doctor apologized later, saying, I needed to say mean things to you so that you would stop focusing on the dream crabs, because those things were going to jump and attack us. I needed to be rude. I'm sorry I had to be rude. Whereas the 15th Doctor is blatantly rude, and she, hugs him. Oh, thank you.
What?
Like, that's just how messed up Joy is.
Yeah, it's like, okay, clearly you've like been in like a coercive kind of abusive relationship somewhere down the line, because this whole thing was, I don't know, again, this whole thing of, is this what all men are like? Like, wow, really? Okay, you really hate men, don't you? Okay.
So, the one thing I would have preferred, I got a kick out of, and I've heard a couple people complain about the whole, the doctor's in the room, this is mansplaining central. I thought that was hysterical. But I think it would have been funnier if it was done by the 13th Doctor. I think that would have been hysterically funny, as she's sitting there just talking to somebody about something or whatnot, Ryan or whatever, and then somebody just say, man, it sounds like you're mansplaining, and she just goes, doctor's in the room, this is mansplaining central. I would love that. Would have been hysterical.
Jesus. I don't know. Yeah. So
yeah, I didn't hate the episode.
It was average.
It was definitely better than any of the Chris Chibnall New Year's episodes.
Yeah. Oh, what you? Oh my God! Can you imagine the mix? Right. It should have been right. Honestly, what it should have been. It should have been Joy. Should have been inserted into that Eve of the Daleks episode, rather than she would have to stalk her boyfriend, right?
That's what they should have done. We should have seen stalker boyfriend. Like, that'd be so another thing that she gets. Yes, that would have been hysterical. Where she's, scrolling through her phone with stalker boyfriend from Eve of the Daleks, and then she makes a comment like, "I still don't know where my toaster is," and like that would have been hysterical.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
I don't think I have that big of an issue with this one. Like I said,
I couldn't care less about the whole star thing. I mean, it's never been done before. Doctor Who's never done the quote unquote nativity. If you think about it, it makes sense. Like it's a time hotel thing. It's a star. Like it's Christmas. Why
it's
not?
Not like it. It's not like the star was like the embodiment of something.
No, it's just
it was a star that was supposed
guiding people, and it's guiding for
exactly.
Hope. So what? So you're berating Doctor Who for shitting on Christianity? How? It's the point of the whole episode was hope, right? So how is that being disrespectful or offending Christianity? They're always claiming that Christianity is about love and joy and hope, and and loving, etc., and loving, thy neighbor and yada yada. Well, then what do you want? Like, it's a star. It's grow up.
So with that, what would you rate Joy to the World?
5. Just it was average for me.
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah, it's not that bad. So now let's talk about viewing, because I will tell you, there is an interesting thing that occurred that I'll tell you. Disney did some interesting musical chairs to get Doctor Who Joy to the World in their top 10 streaming. And it's very interesting, and I applaud them to finding a way to getting a Christmas episode noticed. Props to them. Okay? I will give that. But I don't particularly care for what they did also at the same exact time. So overnight ratings, they have 4.11 million watched. We still don't have the 7-day, the plus 7, whatever. If everything kind of continues as is in the 15th Doctor era, it'll probably be about 1 million more or 1.5 million more. So we're looking at anywhere about 5.7 million or so. And that's perfectly fine, whatever. But you brought up an interesting point off air, which was what is like comparable to the other shows that occurred on Christmas Day. And so walk me through this. So what episode started first? Was it Doctor Who?
Doctor Who
on BBC One?
It was Joy to the World, yeah.
So it was Doctor Who Joy to the World, and then
immediately after straight into Wallace and Gromit.
And I think, and here's the interesting thing. We talk about how, people, viewership numbers aren't the same as they were back in the day. That's the thing. I understand that. Here's the interesting thing. Well, actually, before I say that, do you know what was on BBC One before Doctor Who came on? Just out of curiosity. If you don't, it's okay. Okay. So Doctor Who has a overnight rating of 4.11 million. Immediately after Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, 9.38 million.
Nice. Yeah.
That
and this is what I'll will bring me on to. This is the story so much better than Joy to the World.
Yes.
Like Wallace and Gromit, Wallace and Gromit was fucking amazing.
Yes.
So good. All right. Can you believe it's been 16 years since
The Were-Rabbit?
No.
Long Pants?
No, A Matter of Life and Death. It's been
interesting.
It's been a long time. Like I didn't realize it was that long. But and I'm like, I don't know. I just want more. I just want more Wallace and Gromit, to be honest.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I feel as though, and we've talked about it before, I'm actually in the band camp, and we were getting to this at the very beginning of the podcast, but I'm actually in the camp of I am all for another Wilderness Years for Doctor Who. Like, I'm looking at the top 10 programs on Christmas Day, and I don't want to discount the 4.11 because, again, Wallace and Gromit, like you said, the last time they had something brand new was, what did you said, 16, 14 years ago?
16 years ago, yeah.
Like, so obviously there's been anticipation. Obviously there is a fan base for it. But again, Doctor Who is a institution in England. We have previously had highs of, Voyage of the Dam was the highest Christmas rated viewed episode overnight. And I feel as though since RTD has come back, well, and then you could also say since Chibnall has taken over, Doctor Who has not recovered to where it once was. And I feel as though with Chibnall and also with RTD Part 2, I think there is a fear or a worry or a concern or a looking at a annoyance of being lectured to. Whereas, and I've seen this play out on Twitter a lot, where people were talking about how, there's always been a message. It's always been this. What about the Green Death? Are you forgetting the Green Death? Duh. There was obviously a message right there, but it wasn't overhanded. It wasn't heavy-handed. It was a story that had a message and then just continued on with its story. Whereas I feel as though with Chris Chibnall, it was just like, oh, let me beat you over the head with this sack of rocks a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And I find personally RTD Part 2 is kind of doing it. Not as much as Chibnall, but still is. Yeah.
You could say that Chibnall's era is basically is like the hangover from drinking a Pangalactic Gargle Blaster, right? Because it is like having your head staved in by a golden brick wrapped in a lemon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, RTD2 is doing it not as much, but again, and like thinking about it, I think that's the Disney influence, even though I think people want to say that Disney aren't having an influence. I think they are. I think that's also why the BBC are not happy with Disney, and not happy with what they're doing, and that's why I think they're trying now to get Doctor Who back on BBC America. And I think that's why RTD has come out and said, that it's been a good experiment. If Doctor Who was to, lose the funding from Disney, it wouldn't go away. It would still continue, which I'm fine with. And I'm fine with actually, Doctor Who going back to its roots and being a bit more like less low budget, because I think that just suits.
Well, there's something
Doctor Who,
something Doctor Who about, like, the funny thing about it is one of the, out of everybody that I listen to complain about Joy to the World and also season 1, and I have thought this too, is you can definitely tell that there is a lot of money going into each one of these episodes. And when I was watching The Last Christmas and Husband of River Song, there's money being put into it, but not nearly as much. And then I went back and I watched Rose. And then I watched, I can't even think, the second episode after the End of the World. And there was not that much money put into it. But man, the stories were cracking. They fired on all cylinders. For me personally, when I watched both Rose and The End of the World, I found, like, in America, we had 24, which basically was a TV show with almost a movie budget, and it was very evident that they put in a lot of money. Doctor Who was coming out about the same exact time, and I didn't feel as though the amount of money towards the product was equal as evident on TV. However, what was equal was the script and the stories. And I find, and kind of like when we talked about The Flux, that opening scene with the Doctor and what's her face,
on the trampoline,
trampolining into the TARDIS or whatnot.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
That CGI was dreadful, and you know what? I can look past dreadful CGI, but what I cannot look past is poor storytelling, poor character development, and poor plot. And it leaves people, basically, it turns them angry But what's even worse, and you could say this, people who are on, YouTube and whatnot that are complaining about the show, them being angry about certain things and complaining about that, that's a lot better than being apathetic. Because
Mhm.
once you are apathetic about something, you no longer care. It is done in your life and you've moved on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so hate watching, at least in some extent, demonstrates the jiltedness that the fan base has for the show changing, and you're hating it, not to dump on it, but at least for me, for when I would never hate watched the Flux. I was always hopeful, and then of course I get burned every single time. But hate watching still is, you're looking at it to hate it, but I think there's an aspect of the hate watcher that is actually hoping it's going to be good. But when you get into the apathetic stage,
You
you
just
don't
don't
even
care.
care that it's on.
Yeah.
And that's where I
Yeah.
found myself kind of during RTD Part 2 Season 1, is I didn't even care at times it was on.
No, I was kind of like that with the Whittaker era.
Mm-hmm.
And again, speaking of the Whittaker era, riddle me this: I've never been able to understand the reasoning and the logic for the title of the end of series 12, "The Timeless Children."
Because
Where, like,
because of the timeless child and
Mhm.
the constant forced regeneration. The timeless children is the
Oh, right, okay.
constant regeneration of the Doctor from one thing to, or the
One
Master,
child
which
to
actually
another.
makes more sense. But the constant forceful regeneration of this child, because they always were regenerating into a child. They were not regenerating into an adult.
Right, yeah, okay. Again, they could have. I think they could have explained that a bit better. But I
Oh,
mean,
what?
But then they could have explained the entire era better, though, couldn't they?
RTD, or not RTD, Chris Chibnall explaining things better?
Mm. And then you have the power of the Doctor with the forced degeneration into the man. Oh God. Anyway, yeah. So
Yeah. So with that, I yeah,
So
sorry.
So yeah, Wallace and Gromit.
Such a fun episode. Just so
Yeah,
fun.
and just that's what I mean. The story in comparison to Joyce of the World, like, it was so much better. It was so well written. I, I mean, just the gags and the little nods to just just generally stuff, like
Mhm.
the puns in there. I mean, like, for example, the bit at the end with the narrowboat. Like, I love the fact that the copper's narrowboat was called Dun Nickin. Like, um,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. It was just so good.
No, totally agree. It was I I loved, I was looking at the title, the intro to and I love that it said a combination between BBC and Netflix. And so I immediately went on and Googled, when is Wallace and Gromit going to be available? And according to that, it's going to be available on American Netflix, I believe, January 5th or January 6th.
Mhm.
And I was like, yes, that is a marriage right there I can get behind. BBC and Netflix working together to furthering certain things. Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah. I mean, again, and you can argue that the sort of Wallace and Gromit, again, is kind of another institution,
Mhm.
of Britain, I suppose.
Yeah.
And again, Christmas, Wallace and Gromit was kind of always on, weirdly, originally on Channel 4, when it first started out back in 1989. It was on
Mhm.
Channel 4. And I think either just before or just prior to The Wrong Trousers or just after, I can't remember which, The Wrong Trousers, the BBC bought the rights from Channel 4, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And that's where Wallace and Gromit has been ever since. And there's just something about Wallace and Gromit, and I suppose Christmas, I guess you could argue as well, because it's always on at Christmas. But I think it suits Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a time of year that's not the best of time, really, for I'd say a lot of people. I guess myself included. I think it's just a nice thing to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I would like more Wallace and Gromit stuff. Like if it's more regular, and if it's a co-production between BBC and Netflix, then
Mm-hmm.
give Aardman more money to do more shows, more films quicker. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So I wanted to share with you why I felt as though Disney was doing, and I'm fine with it, but I'm also like, come on. Thank you for, getting Joy to the World in the top 10. But this is quite interesting.
Mm.
So, Doctor Who is a TV show, correct?
It is.
It was not on Disney's top 10 most watched TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
They changed where it goes. They have changed Doctor Who and Joy to the World as a movie.
Cheeky bastards.
It got
Wow.
it. That's how it got in the top 10. Is they changed it to a movie. I'm on iTunes, and
Wow.
here's the interesting thing. So all of the seasons of Doctor Who is labeled on iTunes as a TV show. All the classic episodes, TV show. 60. Here's the interesting thing. 60th anniversary specials. Well, if you want to buy the lot of them, they are classified as a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to buy Doctor Who and the Star Beast, it is categorized as a movie.
Oh, Jesus.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't hate it. You know what? If they can get people to watch it, good for them. I disagree about changing the, where it belongs just to get it notarized. But also at the same time, I'm glad that you got it notarized. Maybe it will increase because, again, the BBC also has not, like, we are now at day 9 after day of review or viewing. The 7 days should be in. And the BBC is not relaying the new series just yet. What are they hiding? Because it's just one of those, like, what underhanded things are you doing? Why are you hiding it? Why are you delaying it? We are now on day 9. 7 days was 2 days ago. I will allow day 8, but as a day of recording, we're still on day 9. They have not done the 7 day or plus 7
thing
or whatnot. So I just think it's kind of, as the kids would say, sus.
It is a bit, yeah. Oh, well, corporations doing corporation-y things, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. I mean, did you have any other thoughts about Wallace and Gromit?
Nah, it was fun. I look forward to watching it again. I'm kind of holding off on watching it because you were able to slip that to me. I'm looking forward to watching it on Netflix so that I can give it a legitimate view over here because it was fun. It is rewatchable.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I think that's the thing. I think all the Wallace and Gromit stuff is rewatchable though.
Mm-hmm. I always liked the Were Rabbit. I thought that was fun.
I mean, I think it did better in America than it did over here.
Mm.
People said Wallace was toned down a bit and stuff, but yeah. No, I didn't know that Ben Whitehead has been doing this impression of or been doing stuff since 2012.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I thought this was like a recent thing, you know, but no, it's not. He's been doing stuff on video games and bits and bobs for Wallace for a good, 14 years or 12 years now. So,
well, I guess with that, we will conclude this podcast. You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.